Shalom and welcome again to this week's edition of Seekers of Meaning, the podcast TV arm of Jewish Sacred Aging. I'm your host, Rabbi Richard Address. Thank you very, very much for joining us. Once again, we invite you to visit us at the jewishsacredaging.com website, Facebook page, etc. As many of you know, these podcasts are designed to talk a little bit about and explore some of the issues related to the impact of longevity on our families and our communities within the context of Jewish tradition and Jewish text, all of which, as you know, is constantly evolving and changing. And we are going to, I'm going to have a lot of fun talking to our guest today, Dr. Herbert Levine, a professor, author of several volumes of poetry, professor of literature and religion. But for our purposes today, the author of this brand new book, Blessed Are You, Wondrous Universe, a Siddur for Seekers. And on the bottom, you'll see non-theistic Jewish prayers. So we got lots to unpack here. Herb, welcome. Thank you very, very much for joining us. I hope you're well.
Thank you, Rabbi Address. Yes, delighted to be here.
Yeah, Richard's fine because we know a bunch of the same people from the old days, and that's fine. Anyway, Blessed Are You, Wondrous Universe, a Siddur for Seekers. Okay, we use the term seekers of meaning. Wade Clark Roof coined this term, a generation of seekers, way back in the 1980s. Who's this being written for?
For me, I see seekers as those who have not found their full scope of meaning within the existing Siddurim that are on offer. People who come to synagogue or don't come to synagogue. People who come to synagogue for whom God is an obstacle, for whom the word God is an obstacle. People who don't come to synagogue because they've already characterized everything that happens in synagogue as God-focused. And I'm writing it as well for people who are looking for ways to enhance their Jewish practice so that their heart and their head can be united. We all grew up accepting science and understanding that science is at the core of our understanding of who we are. I wanted to write a Siddur that I could pray out of that accepts the Big Bang as the creation of the universe. And I've done that to the best of my ability. And maybe we should give your listeners a chance to hear one prayer that acknowledges that right off. Would that be all right?
Yeah, because I got a bunch to ask you about, but go ahead.
Blessing for the light in the dark. Let us praise the light that bursts forth from that great and awesome blast, giving birth to what lives and grows as sunshine nourishes the earth. In the voids of the cosmos through time and space, the glorious first light still shines. So that's my attempt to bring science and religion together, to bring the yearning for connection with something greater than ourselves. I call it the universe. Other people call it God. I've been in Jewish congregations in which people say Olam, eternity is their name for God. And I wanted to bring Olam into that in Jewish vocabulary, that we could acknowledge that we can't get back before the Big Bang. We don't have any idea of how or what could have happened that led up to it. That's as far as our rationality goes. But our hearts look at pictures from the Webb telescope and say, we're part of something grand. We're part of something glorious. You and I are talking right now through electrons and atoms over a big distance, and it's something that we humans created out of our intelligence. And I don't say our God-given intelligence, because that's not, that creates already some intellectual problems for us. So that's my sense of a seeker is that person who wants to have their heart and head united.
So it's interesting because the prayer that you just read, if you walked into every one of my friends and the majority of non-traditional synagogues, there would be no problem with that prayer. None at all. None at all.
I
Um,
I agree with you, and that's part of my hope that this book can be a bridge for so that brings in that intellectual awareness into a Reformed synagogue, into a conservative, into a Reconstructionist, as well as into a Humanist synagogue.
so you write in their introduction, quote, one of the reasons for this is, quote, because of profound limitations to current religious and secular approaches to Judaism, unquote. What are the profound limitations to current Judaism?
Well, the secular approach in America is just pure rationalism, and it doesn't tend to speak to our feelings. So it's got a limited vocabulary. And I think the religious approach is limited by its history, by the history that says these myths present themselves as true. The Bible presents itself as given by God, whereas we all know that the Bible was created over centuries by human beings. Every Reform rabbi learns that, every conservative rabbi, every Reconstructionist rabbi, and yet the Chumashim that they open in their synagogues with difficulty acknowledge that. They may put that information in the back of the book.
So what are the concern then is the disconnect between what's written in the prayer book and what people believe.
What people believe and what they know to be true based on their college educations, based on their secular educations. I'm talking about that group of people who have that cognitive dissonance. So the religious approach produces cognitive dissonance over time. And among my friends, I'm in my 70s, what I started to notice was after in their mid 60s, a lot of people stopped going to synagogue. Their children are grown up. Maybe for some people, it happens when their children become bar mitzvah. It happens even earlier. They do it for the sake of the children, of passing something on. But what they're passing on gets hollowed out over time by not being intellectually honest. So how could we have an intellectually honest religious yearning? Religion means connecting, wanting to connect with that which is greater than us. To me, that's what it implies.
One of your first prayers on gratitude on page 2, it goes like this: I thank you, living and enduring universe, that I am aware of my breath. How great are your wonders. So in that, it's your version of the Modeh ani lefanecha, I give thanks to you because I got up, loosely translated into New Jersey. And if I'm praying out of this prayer book, am I praying to the universe?
You're praying with the universe because you're a part of the universe.
That's okay.
So I think the two is a problem, right, in prayer, because the presumption of religious prayer books is that there is a listening ear in the universe, a consciousness that's greater than all of us. And did that consciousness bring my mother and father together, and so that their sperm and egg united in me? It's a stretch. Did that consciousness produce the state of Israel? Did that consciousness produce Hitler? That's not some place that most Jews I know really go. So I would argue that most Jews in synagogues are really secular, in liberal synagogues. They're really secular people with secular minds, but their hearts are still yearning for a way of connecting with the all, with the everything. And I'm hoping that my prayer book is a way to do that.
So in that connection, because having done this exercise in many congregations and asked the people who come to services, do you believe the words you're praying? And the overwhelming majority say, no, we don't believe the words we're praying. And I said, well, if you don't believe the words you're praying, why are you there? And overwhelmingly, the answer is community. These are my friends. This is, we've all grown up together.
Right.
So where in your construct does this, the concept of community, does it trump theology?
Well, what I'm arguing is that if we let our prayer book evolve, we could create a more honest version of community. We could create a community that does not have cognitive dissonance about what it's saying, and that we would keep our children, who are all atheists by the time they're bar mitzvah, at least my grandchildren, we would keep our children engaged if we said, wow, let us develop an I-thou relationship to the world around us. Let us look at nature as alive, and we are part of that living entity that we call Olam. And we hope that it'll last forever, Olam Vayed. But now we know that the cosmologists tell us the universe may be expanding, and so it may pull apart at some point. But let's bring science into the conversation and try to create an idiom that is both emotional and uplifting and intellectually honest.
A colleague of mine, a younger colleague, as most of them are now, Jeff Middleman, who did a podcast for us years ago, is the founder and director of an organization called Sinai and Synapse, which basically is exactly the attempt to harmonize science and religion.
I haven't heard of him. I'm delighted to know about him. And
yeah, you should. He's on. You could go to the great God Google, and
right.
It's Jeff with a G and 2 T's in Middleman. He's a lovely guy, very bright. He took one of my classes many years ago, which had nothing to do with him being very, very bright. Are we, Herb? Are we one with nature? Are human beings? Are we one with nature?
I believe that we are an expression of nature. According to the conventional reading in Genesis, we're the highest part of nature, but I'd like to read Genesis as about interdependence. Yes, we're the part of nature that can talk. Now, it appears that dolphins can talk and whales can talk.
Yeah, whales can talk, yeah.
And it appears
Monkeys.
that trees can talk to one another through the fungus underneath them.
Yeah, I just saw an article about that.
All of this is just so miraculous and wondrous. So my word was wondrous. Blessed are you, wondrous universe. You know, I've sent this book out to lots of rabbis. A friend generously gave 100 copies to go to rabbis. And I'm hoping that people really see that they, as you said, that there's a prayer in here that would pass muster in their congregation. And there are many.
There are many. So since you just alluded to that, if someone wants to get a hold of this book, how does one get a hold of this prayer book?
Well, it's sold wherever fine books are sold, right? And that is in your local bookstore. It can be ordered, and it can be ordered online wherever you order books without giving a commercial to any one of them.
Well done. So let me go to this blessing for peace. There's a line in here I want to ask you about. The blessing for peace, since we're in a position of really needing a lot of peace. This is my prayer and my path in life, to betroth the world so full, to serve all others in joy, to act towards each with love and with truth, and to trust that right living and peace will bloom. Blessed are you, O singular world of wholeness and peace. The phrase that you have in here, to betroth the world, it's a great image of what it, to betroth. Or could you unpack that for a little bit? Because I think it really is a lovely little phrase.
So it's based on a biblical trope in the book of Hosea, one of the prophets, Hosea, God says, I betroth you in justice. I betroth you in kindness. And there are three I betroth yous. And we use that historically when we put on tefillin, when we wrap tefillin around our hands. That is the betrothal. It's a betrothal ceremony between an individual Jewish person and God. And so instead of making that a betrothal to God, I'm saying, let's betroth the universe. Let's bring that love relationship that we historically were told to have with God, and God meaning the one, right? And God being the sponsor of the oneness of all, God standing in for the oneness of all peoples, right? The universalism within Judaism that has attracted so many of us to Jewish practice, and yet then we run up against the tribalism within Judaism, and the two obviously are linked and in eternal tension with one another. I am focusing in this book on the universal. I do have a prayer for peace, especially in Jerusalem, because we have an abiding concern for the people of Israel, for us, for ourselves as a people, and wanting to be purveyors of peace. So I hope that that's a beginning of an answer. I wander a little bit away from the metaphor.
In a lot of what you're saying and a lot of the writing in the book, you can hear, at least I was hearing, and you already referred to a little Buber, little Heschel, wonder, awe, standing in life before the awe of nature and the universe. So there's another image that I'd like to ask you about. It comes from one of your prayers for the high holidays, for Yom Kippur self-correction. It's a longer meditation, several stanzas long. You have this image of the shepherd with David, that we're sheep without a shepherd. And then you write, quote, I am the only sheep that I can guide, unquote. I am the only sheep that I can guide. So obviously there's no shepherd in the 23rd Psalm biblical imagery of God as the shepherd. We just saw this again on the Unitana Tokef on the holidays. I'm the only. So in your expression of this, ultimately, which is classic Jewish, I'm in charge of who I am, correct?
My teshuvah, only I can do my teshuvah. Nobody can do my teshuvah for me. And in that image which I borrow from the Psalms, and David as a psalmist, I mentioned David there, I become the shepherd of myself as sheep. And I think that's more honest. For me, it's more honest than saying that this universe has a master and that master can guide me. I would say that Jewish teachings, I'm very aligned with the idea of finding the best in Jewish teachings and lifting it up and considering it sacred. And so my bracha for all of those holiday poems is blessed is our tradition. The way I end that Yom Kippur poem is blessed is our tradition, deepening how we take stock and turn ourselves around. Teshuvah is built into the Jewish tradition. So let's bless not God that gave us the tradition, but we that created the tradition. Let's bless the tradition of our ancestors. So there's a lot of loyalty to ancestors for me in this book. My father's great teaching to me all through my adolescence was don't separate yourself from the community. He saw that I was separating myself from the community, and he urged me. And so in a certain way, this book is my way of staying within the community rather than being a heretic who leaves. I'm trying to bring together the world of being an American and a Jew, and not see ourselves as hyphenated, but have a book that helps us throughout the life cycle be one with who we are.
Well, the separate yourself from, do not separate, is right out of Pirkei Avot. In fact, that's almost a direct translation.
Yeah.
So the use of this book. So did you use this book on the holidays? Do you use this book on Shabbat?
This is a book that I pray out of, that I can pray out of. This is the Kiddush I would want to say, that I say. Now, I also let my grandchildren come here for Shabbat, and I want them to know what the Kiddush is in all other homes all across the Jewish world. So we do the traditional, but then they let Saba read his Kiddush as well. You know, one of my grandchildren has begun copying my Hamotzi song, "We Thank the World for Bread," she says, because she heard me sing that, and that works for her.
Right.
That works for her. So I'm bringing that humanist impulse into more traditional Jewish language of bracha. And I'm bringing the bracha of traditional Judaism to the humanists as well. I'm trying to create something that will heal that tension between our secular side and our religious side of our people.
Do you attend a humanist synagogue?
I have never yet, although I'm going to zoom in for this Rosh Hashanah next week because somebody is using my book, and it's very exciting to me to witness that.
You mentioned with your granddaughter the music. People should know at the end of the book there are blessings for various occasions. A section dealing with some of the poetry for mourners, but also music. Which could you just mention, because it's great. I mean, I don't read music.
This was an investment on my part to find people to write music for my prayer poems. And I commissioned this music. I had a little contest in which I asked various composers. I reached out through the wonders of the internet and email to find composers. I got a number of submissions. I picked 3 people, and they composed 13 songs. You can listen to them on the publisher's website for the book, Ben Yehuda Press, where this podcast will ultimately also have a home, as well as in your Sacred Asia. All the songs are there, and I did that because I know that people need music. Words need music to become loved. We love songs the most. They create the deepest emotional connections for us.
No, it's very interesting you said that, which is why one of the reasons why I wanted to mention the music, because before we started the podcast, our producer and I, Steve Lubetkin, and I were talking about the synagogue where he goes, and I also attend and teach at a lot, where the choir is really like draws people in, and we agree that the liturgy itself, since most people are not, they don't. I'll say this: I believe that most people do not believe the words that they're saying, but when the choir chants in full volume, and it's almost as if you can see people spirituality being lifted up. So that idea of the words need music to love is exactly true. It's exactly, and I'm not a scholar in this. You probably know way more than I do, but throughout history, how music has been used in worship can be transformative.
Absolutely, and the biologists tell us that we have a benefit from singing together, singing aloud together,
Right.
Create certain kind of endorphins, releases certain chemicals in our, from our neurotransmitters that make us feel good. So I needed music for this. I'm delighted that the book is here. And delighted that you're giving me the opportunity to talk about it so that people who might find it, because it's very hard to find things in today's world. So many books come out, so many sidurim. So this one is sui generis. It's of its own kind, and the music is a big piece of that.
Well, no, it's a very interesting niche because you really are manifesting the tension that we're seeing a lot in today's world, and especially in the non-Orthodox community, about where the words are, what they mean, the theology, quote unquote. And people are seeking. I mean, they are. My experience in the work we do in Jewish Sacred Aging is our generation, which is now a multi-generational cohort, really are seeking what I call adult answers to the issues that we face as we're getting older. Our families, ourselves, our bodies are changing, and it's not necessarily translatable to a listener, hearer, doer, creator God.
Should we do something from the section on mourning?
Okay, before we run out of time, I'll give you that chance.
So what are we doing when we say Yitkadal v'yitkadash ne Rabbah, and we say the Kaddish? We're actually praising God. So I wrote a version of, or a sort of introduction to the Kaddish, which I hope will really catch on in a lot of places for those we love. As we say Yitkadal v'yitkadash, we make holy whatever we loved about you when you were alive. As we say Yitkadal v'yitkadash, we grow the kindnesses that you did. As we say Yitkadal v'yitkadash, we bind your soul in the bonds of life, remembering you each day. I feel that we don't get to talk to the deceased, but this poem in the Kaddish, but this poem allows us to do that, allows the mourner to do that, allows the congregation to do that, allows them to keep that presence alive in their lives in a way that is comforting and honest. It's a memory, and we're holding up what was best about the people that formed us and our parents.
It's very interesting that you chose that. You should know that more and more congregations. I did this in my congregation, and I just did a program for the Jewish Family and Children's Services yesterday on this, about the memory around the holiday period. But a lot of congregations now, and I saw this work because we did it at Yisker, invite people to come be before the ark and have a conversation with the people that they are mourning.
Right.
And
Yisker is amazing. Yeah.
It's amazing that people do that.
Mm-hmm.
And want to do that. And once they're given permission to do that, it is also transformative. So thank you for sharing that meditation on the Kaddish, because it's absolutely true. Blessed are you, Wondrous Universe, a siddur for seekers, non-theistic Jewish prayers by Dr. Herbert Levine, available where you get your books, either in person with human beings or through the magic of electronics. Herb, thank you very, very much. Enjoy Maine. It's a great area. And I wish you success with the book. And most of all, just continued good health. Just stay healthy. You just take care. Keep in touch, okay? We'll hope to connect one day soon.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Good luck with the book. Thank you. To all of you, thank you very, very much for joining us on today's edition of The Seekers of Meaning, the podcast TV arm of Jewish Sacred Aging. If you'd like to support our work, we do appreciate it. You can go to the website, and there's a conveniently located donate button. Just follow the prompts. We do appreciate it. If you'd like to, or you or your organization, become a sponsor of some of these podcasts, again, just email me at rabbiaddress@jewishsacredaging.com. Seekers of Meaning is produced at the Broadcast Center of Lubetkin Media Companies in gorgeous, bucolic, calm, and gentle Cherry Hill, New Jersey. And we appreciate the genius of our producer, Steve Lubetkin. Until we see each other again on the next Seekers of Meaning, take care of yourself, stay healthy, and most of all, be kind to one another. Shalom.